D-Town Farm.
Peace, everybody. Welcome to D-Town. I'm Jamila. I'm an employee at D-Town Farms. So I help with the planting and the growing and some of the planting here at D-Town. And
I'm Aziza. I am also an employee here at D-Town Farm. I am the farm manager. This is the first year of doing that here at D-Town. So yeah, welcome to the farm, and we're going to show you around.
yes, let's get started.
So in this quad right here, we have a blend. There's some arugula in this far bed right over here, close to the hydrant. And then we have a mix of different head lettuces, some that are speckled with red, and then some that are just your regular Bib lettuce. And then we have 3 different types of beets. We have some bull's blood, which is a very deep red beet with deep red greens. And then we also have Guards Mark, which is a candy cane type striped beet. And then we have just your regular straight up Detroit dark red beets. And then we have some sorrel, which is the perennial tangy herb, which is quite delicious.
It's really good on salads, I must say so myself. So taking you guys to this bed over here, this is actually callaloo. And what's really important about this is that all of these things here are seeds. So we're allowing them to go to seed so that we can save them and then we can use them again to grow for next year. Callaloo is a really good green. It's in the spinach family, so it's a great alternative for spinach. And here's a look at the seeds. Are going to get a little bit more grainy, but this is the idea of the seed. And let's continue. This is a very special quad here because another coworker and I decided that we wanted to add just a little bit more feminine energy, but a little bit more beauty to the farm, and to give our honeybees a little something, a little treat, a little something different, because we've never really planted flowers like this. So what we decided to do was we decided to create a flower mix inside of a bucket of soil, and we put all these different flowers inside of it and mixed it in, and we came out here and just decided to cast it. So this has been very special. We've given bouquets to very special people and people that volunteer. I've taken a bouquet home before, and some of these flowers are actually edible, and you can put them on your salad. It looks very, very, very pretty on any dish that you decide to put it on. Some of them are spicy, and some of them just add a little bit more beauty to the farm. So in this bed we have some sugar snap peas, but also we have some, are these turnips here?
These are radishes.
Radishes.
Yes.
I always mix up turnips and radishes together.
And these ones are the rat tail radish right here.
Rat tail radish.
They're a bit
here.
spicier. These ones are overgrown, but these are a spicier radish, and they're great for stir fries. But if you're not a big radish fan, this is not the thing for you.
And these are the sugar snap peas over here. Let's find. I don't think they've really budded yet, but
No, not yet.
not yet. Not yet.
All right, so over here with the flowers, we have quite a few different varieties. Cosmos, marigolds, zinnias, and then down here at the end, we have some nasturtiums as well as a mix of bachelor's button mixed into this bed. I would hop over and grab a couple, but I realize it's not practical. They're trellising up. But the bees seem to enjoy the diverse selection of nectar that's available. We actually had quite a few hummingbirds coming up here this summer, so that was cool to watch. Then we also have some sunflowers that are down here. But we plan on expanding our flower production next year. One of the employees that helped plant this bed with Jamila will be taking charge of the flower production. And of course, the whole crew will be taking part in that. But we will have more flowers available, and yeah. And I guess we can speak on how the farm is divided up. So that flower will be, though that flower plot will be planted in what we call a quad here in D-Town. And a quad is pretty much a block of growing space that we have here at D-Town. So we have these fenced off areas that start at the front and then go back here in a little bit over to the over this way to the farm. But they could be anywhere from 24 feet wide to 100 feet long to 40 feet wide by 60 feet long, anything like that. And then we probably have about like 4 or 5 beds in there. We'll probably expand those beds a little bit this season, but that's how the farm is sectioned off. If you ever come here and you see these fenced off areas blocked off, they are called quads, and that's what we grow in. But we have trees in between. They're like mini little forests, which provides home often to different creatures, unfortunately groundhogs and some other critters. So here at the farm, we're trying out some silage tarps this year. Silage tarps are usually like if you ever go out in rural areas, you'll see these like long white tubes. They usually have hay in it. But anyway, this material is what that hay is stored in. It turns out that that's helpful in no-till operations, which we're not using a rototiller to break up the soil or anything like that, just to preserve the microbiome within the soil, and to eliminate weeds in a different way. Your annual weeds. It's not very helpful with perennial weeds. But it does help with annual weeds. So we lay this tarp down, and it has 2 sides to it. One side is black, and then the other side is white, and this is a UV treated plastic. So it won't degrade as fast as some other plastics. Now with this, it lays down for a few weeks, or you can leave it over the winter, and the idea is that the vegetation that we laid this tarp over will start to decompose and break down at a little bit of a faster rate. And then when we come back to this, say if we come back in the spring or if we come back in a few more weeks, then this will just be bare ground. So we will have essentially what's called a stale seed bed, and then that will provide us an opportunity to transplant or direct seed into here and give us a chance, give that seeded crop a chance to catch up before any of the perennial weeds do. So it's essentially to improve the efficiency on the farm and a quality of life for farm staff. So we're trying to implement more of those things to create a work smarter, not harder environment here.
Right. And just a side note, allowing whatever was growing there, any kind of food, any kind of plant life, allowing it to break down naturally also provides food for the living organisms that are inside of the soil, and that gives us healthier soil to work with as they continue to reproduce. So we want to be mindful of that too. A lot of people sometimes just rip up what they've been growing, but sometimes just leaving it and then using something like a tarp to help it to break down is very beneficial for creating healthy soil for next year.
We have a few beds of broccoli and 1 bed of scallions. These are kind of later plantings, but so we have some row cover on them. We're just kind of testing it out to see how far we can get these to the very end of the season. We have these floating row covers here on the hoop. So this is a fabric that provides a little bit of warmth and also protection from insects. So one of the common pests we have here at the farm are the common cabbage worms. So if you ever see a little white moth flapping around, now it's not a white butterfly, it's a white moth. Its larvae, its children are vicious, and they will attack your crop and make it look like your collard greens or whatever got shot with a shotgun. So yes. This is a great way to protect your crops. I think, which one is this one? I think it's Agribon 30, so give it a try. It's great. For the wintertime, you might want the Agribon 90, and that will, yeah, that's a great way to save your crops from frost and from insect damage. All right, so this is our retention water pond. So anytime that it's like a heavy rain or rain period, our water, the rainwater, comes down into this pond. So our farm, when you come into the farm, it's on the decline. So then we constantly get a lot of water runoff, but it tends to go to this pond, which when there's a heavy rainstorm, it fills up pretty quick. The Greening of Detroit also has a pond right behind them that's much bigger than ours. Um, so that those combined, I think it's been a bit helpful. But we have, so if you look at this, so the pond's there, and then we have this windmill here, along with this solar panel. Now this solar panel is attached to a water pump that we have over here. So the solar panel is charging this water pump, which is pumping the water that we collect in this pond through this PVC line that goes along the fence line, and then up front we have two large black tanks that hold a few thousand gallons of water at a time, and then we use that to water our quads that are on the left here. So that would be quad 1A, 1B, and quad 3. But so yeah, that's essentially it. And then the windmill helps. There's a tube that goes down from this windmill that you can see here, and that windmill that windmill is sending air into that tube, and that's providing a little bit of aeration. So it's a very light bubbling that's going on right now. Honestly, we need another windmill or maybe a bigger tube, but we need a lot more power to get the aeration that we want, so that mosquitoes don't lay their larvae in there, because that seems to be an issue that we're having. If the water is too still, then that's a place that mosquitoes can lay their larvae and then have their babies, and then we have issues. But yeah, so that's that.
Are our collard greens, and when I tell you guys that before, they were just looking so beat up.
They were hit.
They were hit. Okay, so we decided to come through and thin them out, and by thin them out, that just means creating more space between each plant. So let's say if you have 3 plants here together, you would kind of pluck that middle one just to give the other one more breathing room to grow. And I thought it was no hope, but after weeding them and getting most of the dead leaves off, they look really, really good, and I'm really proud. So these are our collard greens.
They're delicious if you want some.
Yes, they are. Okay. This is our Will Allen hoop house, and I really just want to highlight one that we're growing sweet potatoes in here, but the season before we decided to grow root vegetables, and sometimes root vegetables can be a little bit abrasive on the soil. So when we first came in here, the soil was rock hard. We spent a lot of time just breaking down the soil. So what we decided to do was amend it with some compost, and I just want to point out just the difference in the soil quality. The sweet potatoes are here. This is what they look like. It's getting a bit colder now, so they're probably not going to finish here. So what we're going to do is put them in some pots and take them home so they can finish. in a bit of a warmer environment.
So there's will be for us.
So there are now.
Here we go. All right. Whew, my glasses are steaming.
Yes, it's really warm in here. It's a lot of greens, a lot of life in here.
It's mild sauna.
Yes, I love it. Okay.
So
So what are we growing in here?
we got some beans. Actually, pick up these are Royal Burgundy green beans.
So good.
It's just a bush bean. When you cook it, it goes green. If you were to like ferment it, not do a hot pickling brine, but like a lacto fermented with like a 5% solution. Anyway, I'll show you how to do that one day. They'll keep their color if you want to keep purple beans, so you have beautiful purple beans.
Yeah, it's so good. Y'all want some?
Ali Darul. I'm founder and executive director of a company called Ryder Cooperative Industries that works to bring clean energy projects to community-based neighborhoods. We actually got our start from D-Town Farm from this project. So, this container behind us called Darul Energy Station was built essentially out of the need for the farm to have more sustainable energy on the farm, to be able to power, lights, power tools, and things like that. We started this project back in December 2015 and worked with the community for several years to bring together, many of the pieces for, this project. So as you can see, we worked with DBCFSN, except my company, Ryder Cooperative Industries, DTE, as well as Insight Focus, who provided the panels, to provide solar technology for the farm in a way that would actually provide some benefit for the people here. And so we've been doing this for the last 6 years, and it's been very good and successful. The main features of this is that it's all off-grid, right? So that's the main caveat, is that people want to be able to have a certain level of sustainability, of freedom and ease in terms of their ability to work and provide power. And the story for this was that D-Town Farm was looking like, hey, how can we actually provide some power to the farm and have it be completely off-grid? At the time, it was a project that had not previously been done before. And I came from a school. I was actually a student of Bob Malik's many years ago. He was my math teacher, so I went to Insuroma Institute, as well as W.B. Du Bois Academy, which is all African-centered education. Got an engineering degree from University of Detroit Mercy, and then Oakland University for my master's in alternative energy systems. And then after I got that master's, I decided to come back and see how we could implement some of these solar projects in the communities, in urban communities, and how it would be a benefit to people like us that are living here in the city. And so coming back from that, we decided to partner with DBCFSN to see how we could actually materialize this type of project like in the real world for people. And the things that we had were essentially a 40-foot shipping container and 10 donated solar panels. And around that, we decided, how can we put this together in a way that would actually make sense for the people? And so, the design for the Darul Energy Station was born. The process took about 9 months, and the basic needs were, how can we design it such that it'll power, basic needs for the farm and not be able to connect to DTE. As you see, D-Town is a very large farm. It's 7.5 acres, and it's kind of far away from DTE poles to be able to tie in lines. And so we wanted to see, like, how do we actually build self-sustainability into this? How do we build resiliency into this model of the farm in general, right? To build out having sustainability from a practical standpoint and what it is that we're doing here. And so we were requested to design and commission this Dyro Energy Station. As you can see, it's built out of a 40-foot shipping container that was fabricated to be an off-grid power station. So it's got 10 solar panels on the top. Each solar panel is 300 watts. So the entire array collection of the solar panels is 3,000 watts, or what we would say 3 kilowatts, right? And a kilo means 1,000, so it's basically 3,000 watts of power that's being generated by solar. It also has an 8 kilowatt inverter inside, which means it's able to provide a level of AC power to be able to plug in your utilities and your power equipment, just like you would plug in like your phone or TV or laptop. Anything that you would plug into an outlet into your home, you can plug in here and it can provide 8,000 watts of power, as well as 16.5 kilowatts of lithium-ion battery capacity. Now the batteries are really important because it allows for you to be able to store a lot of the solar energy that you have from the sun and use it at a later time when the sun goes down. So some of the components that we actually have here, right, is a basic flow. We've designed this chart just so people can see like some of the basics of the main components of solar technology, how they work, and what their basic use are. You know, solar technology, similar to the skin, it collects solar energy and basically converts it into electricity. And so we can use that model, that same model for, you know, plants and photosynthesis, for designing solar and storing solar throughout the day. So the first process is that solar photovoltaics converts the electricity from the sun, the energy from the sun, into electricity. And then it goes to a part called a charge controller. Now the charge controller, basically, since the sun is somewhat irregular, sometimes it might be high, sometimes it might be really low, the charge controller helps to balance out the load, the electricity, to keep it at a very steady and constant voltage for the battery to charge. And that's actually the next piece, is the battery. There's various types of batteries that can be used for solar applications, and batteries just in general, right? You have lead acid batteries that you have in your car, in your cell phone. You use lithium ion batteries, right? So there's various different types of batteries. In this particular application, we use lithium ion because it has a very good discharge rate and a lot of cycles. Just like your cell phone, you can charge it all the way up, charge it all the way down, you know, pull it, drain it all the way down at night, and still be able to have life out of it, you know, the next day or so. Lead batteries don't really allow you to do that. Just like if you turned your car off, or the battery of your car died, if you drained it down too low, you could actually damage the battery. So there are various types of batteries that go into these types of systems, and so we could actually help you determine which will be the best for your application. Also, the inverter, there's an inverter in here that helps convert the DC power, or direct current power, from the battery to alternating current power, which allows you to run many of your household appliances. So you can use your AC to plug in, you know, lights, refrigerators, microwaves, blenders, various appliances that you would use that use alternating current power, that, you know, basically use whatever kind of loads you want to run inside your house. And then that will go to an electrical panel where you can actually have your safeties. So if you have too much loads pulling, it'll automatically turn off, you know, the breaker, so that, you know, you can actually save the appliances that you have in the house. And then for this one, you know, we actually don't, there's options for everything above here is off grid. And then if you wanted to connect to the grid, you could send some of the excess power that you have from the solar panels out to DTE. But in this case, we're actually storing 100% of the energy that's being generated here on site. So everything is staying here, everything is still staying self-contained, and all of the energy that's being produced is being consumed here on the farm. People ask, well, how much energy actually can this provide, right? How much energy can, this power station actually provide for a home? And in this case, it actually could provide energy for maybe a small, a mid-sized home. In this case, we're going to be using it for powering lights and heating of seedlings throughout the farm. And there's various structures around, so running lines and trenching to the various structures on the farm is what D-Town is using that for right now, as well as running power tools, some of the communication, some of the networking, and various just electrical needs that the farm would have.
Welcome everyone to D-Town Farm Apiary. This is the front part of our apiary. Today we're going to give you some insights and visit here with in the bee colony that we have here. We have 2 colonies here at the farm. We have this one here, which is located at the front of the farm. Then we have an additional colony that's located in the back of the farm. Today, Mama Abba and I'm Karanja Famadou, and
Mama Abba Ifeoma.
Okay, so let's take the inner cover off.
Let's give them a little smoke.
Yep, that sounds good.
And we're almost at smoke here.
So you recall we also introduced you to the smoker earlier on. We use the smoke to calm the bees, and also it signals to the bees as far as they interpret the smoke. When they encounter the smoke, they respond as though it's a forest fire. And when there's a forest fire, what they'll do is try to consume as much honey as they can. That stiffens their bodies, and when it stiffens their bodies, from the beekeeper standpoint, it is a safety valve for us, because when they stiffen their bodies, they can't curl to sting us. So, okay, so we'll next go to the next level here and take the inner cover off here. And here is the inside of the hive. Oh, you see bees on the bottom of that inner cover, as well as bees on the top. So this is their home. So they take full advantage of it, use all the space that's there. This is a hive tool. So we've got 2 types of hive tools. And you can see now how we employ them as we work in our hives. So we use them to push apart. So these frames are all propolized together. So that's what one of the reasons we use the hive tools, to pull those apart. And then once we get them apart, then we can lift them up. Lift the frames up.
This is a beautiful frame of honey.
All right. So this side here,
It doesn't have much.
this side here, actually we have nectar. I don't know if you can tell, but there's some glistening liquid in here. So that's nectar that the bees have put in the cells, and the nectar will be dried out through their wings, and it will turn into honey ultimately. And then after it's turned into honey,
They'll put this white coating over the top of it. That way we know that it's been dried to a certain state that we know of as honey. Until then, they're still working on drying it out with their wings. So if you take a look at this side, let me see here. If you take a look at this side up close, this is actually this is about 85% dried, so got 85% honey. It's all capped off, and it's a really beautiful kind of a golden color. Of course, the color that the honey is depends on the flora that the bee have visited for nectar. And right now, of course, we have no idea. We can get an idea that this is probably wildflower honey, mainly because of the very light color. But honestly, it's a mixed variety of honey at this point.
Yep, yep. We have wildflowers, and of those wildflowers, we got clover, we have goldenrod, and behind us we have a collection of flowers in the planting area that the bees can also visit. So the bees, when they visit to go and get nectar, gather nectar that they bring back to the hive, they can fly 2-3 miles, and sometimes even further than that. So these ladies here are the workers, and these ladies that you see at the entrance coming and going, they go out and fly that 2-3-4 mile distance to gather the nectar and bring it back in. They also gather pollen. Now,
They're called the scout bees.
yeah, the scout bees. Okay, and you can see the pollen when they bring it back in. Sometimes there's sacks. There's some sacks that are on their legs that come when they come back. You'll see it be full of pollen. At this point, it'll send you offhand, but that's what they'll do. We hope what we shared with you today has been informative. You've learned something about the lives of bees and the beehive. We certainly would encourage you to come out and join us in our beekeeping efforts through the course of the season here at the farm. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your interest.
Have a good one.
So this area here, although it looks a little bit weedy, we actually plan to start our own medicinal herb garden. Herbs are very useful for medicine, for mental health, for even spiritual guidance and help. Our ancestors definitely understood the power and the value of herbs. I think it'll be a beautiful thing to intentionally put a medicinal herb garden. I believe I want to start off doing it for women's health, because that's what I really pretty much work with. But we are planning to make this our medicinal herb garden, and I'm really excited about that. So stay tuned for that part. I'm done.
And that's about your manager.
Yes. So this is our blueberry patch. I believe this is year 3 of us growing blueberries here. The thing about blueberries is that they really love acidic soil. So one thing that we did last year was we decided to get some pine needles that come from a pine tree, and we decided to sprinkle them all around the blueberries just to add a little bit more acidity to the pH of the soil.
Yep, and also you can see there's some coffee grounds here too.
Yes.
To help with that. And then that's just kind of like a slow release form of getting that acidity. And it's also slow release nitrogen too, so that's a plus.
Okay. Here in our hoop house, it's very, very warm in here, but we have a few. These are voluntary tomato plants. That's the thing about planting tomatoes too, is that if they've been there, they will come back the next season, just because when they drop, their seeds get into the soil. So we have a few voluntary tomato plants, but this is really our pepper our pepper hoop house. So in this hoop house we have jalapeno peppers, we have a roasted peppers, we have poblano peppers, and we have bell peppers in here. Here we have a few plants that we started from seed. These are our salad mixes. So we have a spicy salad mix, also, which I really love. But this is also where we tend to keep a lot of our babies because it is so warm in here.
This is our pizza oven here at D-Town. This was built by a community member that we lost, unfortunately, due to COVID. Baba Kalinde. You want to talk a little about him?
Baba Kalinde was a very powerful warrior and a master teacher, a master martial artist. It was such a blessing to be just around him as a protector and a father, a loving husband. We honor him, and this gift that he has given to D-Town has been definitely beneficial. The pieces that come out of here are so, it's like no other, honestly. So.
But yeah, this I love this little wood fire oven. I actually would like to put it to use this fall and a little bit into the winter to bake some loaves for a few folks throughout. So yeah, keep an eye on that. But this is a very beautiful oven, and we're definitely gonna tend to it and care for it so that it stays here. Yeah. So this is our children's area. Here, if you ever come to the Harvest Fest or if you've ever been to the Bio Blitz before, this is the area where we tend to host events like that. Yeah.
So in this area too, they will also enjoy the pizzas that they've made using the oven, and they would do things like arts and crafts and jewelry making and things like that. Also, if you look at these beds right over here, I know that last year it really came in handy because sometimes we had younger children on the farm. So I planted some turnips in there last year, and I allowed them to just thin it out and just have an understanding of what it is that they were doing. So this is also a growing space because we also have a few beds that are over there as well, just so that children the children that do come on the farm, they have a place that's for them to practice at. I actually didn't grow up on a farm, but my interest in agriculture actually sparked at a young age. I'm actually in elementary school at this school called Instrument Institute, which was an African-centered school, and we really did talk more about food security and what it means to actually live a healthy lifestyle. So I remember being in about 3rd grade and being a part of what was called the Shamba Club, and from then I learned all about food security and compost and herbalism and things like that. So just growing up, my grandparents also had just a small garden, but I've been in and out of different programs that allowed me to be an apprentice and to manage certain areas of the farm. So from then on, I even have my own garden at home. That's really where it sparked for me, and then from then I started to get into a little bit more into herbal medicine and healing and things like that.
When I was younger, yeah, I did some gardening with my grandmother, a little bit of helping with farms in the area. But also when I think about 13 or 14, there was a project going on in my neighborhood in the North End on over 2nd Hazelwood. And there was a community. Let's see, the CDC here in the city. They were helping to put together community garden plots for the homeless population. So I helped with that initiative as a youth, and since then I continue to be interested in agriculture. So eventually I ended up going to culinary school, and I went out to a school in Vermont. And while I was there, I would help out with the farmers there, doing some volunteering. And then after I left that school, I came back to Michigan, and I met friends that were farmers through the restaurant that I was working at. And I worked with them a bit more, and I just really started to understand my interest in farming and how strong it was. And eventually, 2015, I attended MSU's Organic Farmer Training Program, which then was a 9-month intensive program, which required me to be there 5 days a week and then a few weekends there. And there I learned to use tractor equipment, different implements that are used on that, even though I am fully in support of no-till methods right now. But there I learned organic farming practices, and yeah, and I've been at that.
One thing that I really love about D-Town is the community involvement. Everyone just has their own invested interest in making sure that we are sustainable as Black people. We're just sustainable as human beings overall, and that we're growing healthy food for our community and being able to be of service to them. Another thing that I really love about D-Town is kind of the creative license. So I feel like this is a second home in a sense, to where I can come here and do what I need to do. I can put in my work. I could decide that I don't want to work. I just want to volunteer my time because it's off of the love. There's a lot of love here at D-Town, and I think once you work from that place, you attract more people. You attract the abundance that you need. But I love to see it evolve and to shape shift into something different every year, every season, yet still stay just as beneficial as it has always been.
One of the things I love about D-Town, definitely the communal aspect, but just like but speaking on that, I really appreciate that this is a space that, like, in focusing on that community aspect, we can focus on growing techniques that are a lot more beneficial for the earth, that are healing to the land. We're not just taking away. And this is a space that, like, all of us staff, like, yeah, like, I'm the manager, but honestly, this is it's truly a group effort. Everyone gets a decision, and like next year, how we're going to be managing things is that all of it, each staff member gets essentially their own plot to manage. So Jamila being in charge of herbs,
Yes.
and then another staff in charge of flowers, someone in charge of our orchard fruits as we start that up, and there's just going to be different sections like that, and that's really going to help get that kind of co-op spirit within the farm. And I'm really looking forward to how we're going to heal the earth, how we're going to feed the community nutritious food, also supplying medicinal herbs to help with whatever ailments folks have, and to just see an overall healing in the community. And that, I think that's great. Thank you for joining us on this tour. I'm sorry that we were not able to actually host the farm, the Harvest Fest here on the farm this year, but who knows what next year will look like. But I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions that you have, please hit us at D-Town Farm for our Facebook page, or you can hit us on our another Facebook page, DBCFSN, and just hit us up, find out more about the co-op. Come to D-Town. We're here Saturday and Sunday to volunteer from 8 to 12. So yeah, just come up, visit us. Feel free to hit us up about any produce that you would like to purchase. I know our website can be a bit confusing, but if you send us a direct message, we can work something out. And thank you everyone. Peace.